amazing interview. I'm just so surprised by all the stuff we learned, all the stuff he has been talking about, and like so much stuff that I can actually apply to my personal life. Thanks so much for being there. I'm excited to talk with you. Let's get started. Can you intro yourself a bit? 30 seconds, kind of what you're doing. You're doing a lot of different stuff. I'm actually following your SEO course, but I guess you'll tell us about it.
Yeah, so my name is Brendan Hufford. I'm the Director of SEO at an agency called Directive, where we do performance marketing for all sorts of companies, but primarily software companies and enterprise level. So really cool, really amazing position. I lead a team of about 17 people, but it wasn't always that way. Believe it or not, I went to school to be a teacher. And after doing that for a couple of years and becoming just pretty frustrated with, what I was going to be able to accomplish there, I did some good work and ended up teaching for like 10 years. Took a step back. I ended up selling a couple online businesses and then just starting doing client work. And that's what I do now. I work at Directive, and then I also have a course and community called SEO for the Rest of Us, and just launched an SEO 30-day challenge called Rank and Convert. And that's what takes up most of my time, that I'm not hanging out with my wife or my 3 kids.
Cool stuff. So let's get more into the networking topic. Obviously, I'm curious as to, you're pretty successful, I'll be honest. And some part of it might be due to the people you know, and how you built up this community, and also like just your network. Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about what networking actually means to you? What does it mean to build a network?
Yeah. So I think first I feel very regular most days. I appreciate you saying that I'm successful, but I think people, if anybody looked at like that intro and stuff, they're seeing me on chapter 14, if we put every chapter as a year. So you're seeing me on chapter 14, and I just want to be really careful that people don't compare their chapter 1 or 2 to my chapter 14, right? I've been doing this for a long time, and it does take a long time. And I'm glad we're talking about networking, simply because that's like the biggest thing that's helped me over time. When I look back at all the things that have gone well and everything that's amazing, I'll tell you a crazy story about networking here in a second, but that's the stuff that's paid off the biggest dividends for me. In terms of what networking means for me, like, I'm not a networker. I don't have business cards. I don't go to like networking meetings. I don't like add a bunch of people on LinkedIn for the sole purpose of trying to like network. I've never used that word, I guess, for what I do. I'm just really blessed that when I was little, I moved a lot. And one of the advantages of moving a lot, there's definitely some downsides, but one of the upsides is that you get really good at making friends fast. Because every couple of years at school, in elementary school and middle school and high school, I'd have to switch schools. So I got good at making friends. And I think that those skills of getting good at making friends and keeping up with relationships and understanding there's some really cool, unique ways to, you hear like provide value, but nobody really knows what that means. There's some unique ways to do that I found to be really effective.
Cool. So can you like walk us through how networking was useful through your 14 chapters, kind of how it helped you in different situations, just like generally, and then I guess we'll go deeper into like actually the how.
Yeah, so that's a great question. In terms of generally high level speaking, I've gotten most of my customers and most of my clients have come through relationships. And I don't mean like referrals. Usually the referral business I get is not great because they're not qualified. They're not the best clients or customers. But I take that back. They're not the best clients. They're always the best customers. So people that have joined my community, been in my courses, there's very few of them, very few members of the SEO for the Rest of Us community that were not also a member of another community that I was a part of. So it's not just about like, hey, network with people, but like join communities, join these like small places where people are congregating and talking. I'm a part of like 20 different Slack groups. It's not helpful most days because it's a lot of noise, but it does give me places where people are focused, they're invested. They obviously are willing to pay for a community already. So they might pay for my community. And it was never done with this intention, everybody that's, a lot of people that would be considered like influencers that have big audiences that have hired me. We've been friends online for 5 or 6 years at this point. Somebody that I would consider to be a mentor, which is, mentorship is a big part of networking that people forget about. somebody I would consider to be a mentor literally emailed me last night and was like, hey, I have a project. I'd love to work with you on it. Now that's amazing because this is somebody I consider to be a mentor and I've learned so much from them and everything else. And it's incredible that like now they're looking to me for like help on a project, right? And that's a transformation of that relationship. And but when you not set up, but like when you end up having this big network of friends that you really give a crap about, that you're like, oh, you had to put your dog down, so like I'm gonna keep up with you on that and make sure you guys are doing all right, and like you really give a crap about people. All of a sudden there's just compounding effects, right? Those people shout you out, they link to your website, they promote you to their audience, and it's never I've never had the intention of like, I want to get on this person's radar so they'll become an affiliate or like help me make money or refer me business. Like, it's not that. Like, there's people that do that for a living. They're called sales development reps, SDRs, right? But I don't like, it's never been with that intention. It's just like, I'm playing the long game, and I know that in a long enough timeline, at the very least, I have an amazing friend, possibly somebody that could be a mentor and help me when things are hard, help me figure out problems because I have a different viewpoint. And best case, it's just all upside, I guess.
Wow, totally. And but like, where does it come from? I mean, I guess you didn't just like one day like jump up and be like, okay, now I'll actually, yeah, obviously like as humans, we give a crap about the people who are close to us, but how did you expand this? Or yeah, like, why do you suddenly decided you would like join communities and like actually build this network? What's the...
I think like giving a crap about other people is really, and I know this sounds silly kind of when I'm talking about it in terms of like giving a crap, but a lot of it comes back to my faith. Like my faith, like caring about other people who have less than you and stuff like that is extremely important. I would consider it to be, as a Christian, where a lot of Christian values are like politicized, and it's all about like how you vote in these topics and everything. And it's, for me, it's not about that. Like the core message I got from the Bible and still continue to get from it is taking care of other people. Like that's what we're here to do. And so that's a big part of it, is that it's rooted as a core value for me. And then I think beyond that, I don't know, it's really hard to explain just because I think it's part nature and nurture, right? Like it's my nature to be that way, but also it's the result of how I was nurtured and how I was brought up and raised and all of these different things. And then it's just always made sense, like being in other people's communities and paying to be a part of communities and finding ways to share things in Facebook groups and Slack groups and all these different things. Like it's just become a part of what I do at this point. I think if people are looking to get started, find a bunch of like, instead of making a blog post and trying to drive people to your blog, just go platform native, find 10 or 15 Facebook groups. And instead of writing blog, just start putting your blogs in the groups, right? Short thoughts you have, instead of tweeting it to your 12 followers, hop into a group, share it there, right? Share something really informative that's insightful, something you're seeing in the work you're doing or something you're learning. Like, oh, here's like, I just read, grab like a random book of like, oh, we're learning, I'm in this Facebook group about careers and I have Body of Work by Pam Slim. Like, here's 10 things I learned from this book. And it's like, people will get a lot out of that. And all of a sudden you get positioned in their mind as an expert, and I don't know, like I said, I really, again, believe in the long game of like, these things end up working out. The problem is there's a Steve Jobs quote that I'll butcher, but you can really only see how these things work out looking backwards, right? I never planned any of this stuff, clients I've gotten or customers or whatever. Nothing's been, I know this sounds terrible, nothing's been intentional. It's just been like, do as much as possible at all times.
Cool. How would you like, I mean, so you talk about these Slack groups, Facebook groups. How would you define your network today? Can you like run us through that? Like what are all these channels? Like, yeah, what's your network today?
So I think in terms of channels, I never focus on like an amount of people. I just need the right people. So I don't have like tons of Twitter followers or Instagram followers. I would argue most of my Instagram followers are the wrong people because they're from a business that I sold in the past. They were following me based on that. So, I have 7,000 or something. I had at one point over 10,000 Instagram followers, and they just left because they were following me for a project I wasn't working on anymore. And I'm not even a part of that industry anymore. So things like, they wouldn't be the right anyway. So it's okay. Right. In terms of the Facebook groups that I spend a lot of time in, a lot of them are around marketing and software, like that. Those pay dividends for me. And also I just care. Like I believe that software is eating everything right now, and it's really, I want to be a part of those conversations. I want to be whatever it is. There's something from that Hamilton musical about being in the room where it happens. Like I want to be in the room where it happens, where like the conversations are going down that are going to shape the future. I want to be in those rooms, virtually or physically. So Facebook groups are definitely a part of it. I try not to spend too much time on Facebook. I have this thing that blocks my news feed on there, so I don't see any sort of thing like that. I can just go on there and engage intentionally. One of the best tips I ever got for LinkedIn was to buy LinkedIn Premium, and then every day just go in, look at everybody who's looked at your profile. If you're sharing stuff on LinkedIn, people will click through and check out your profile, and then connect with them. They know they just checked out your profile that day, and then they see a connection request come in from you, and it's not spamming. So if I have 1,300 people is usually what I average per week that are looking at my profile, I just add everybody that looked at my profile, and everybody accepts it, right? Because it's in context. You checked me. I've had people be like, hey, how'd you find me? And I'm like, you found me? I don't know. So because there is so much spam on LinkedIn. And I think Twitter too, like I don't have a ton of Twitter followers, but there's, when I look at who they are, they're the right people. And I appreciate that because I also follow those people, right? I can tell you right now on Twitter, currently I follow 188 people, and that's it. And I think probably even 30 or 40 of those I could probably unfollow. But I always try to like follow as few people as possible. I'm not trying to play some game. I want to engage with people genuinely. So I want to see every single tweet from those 188 people, right? That stuff really matters to me. So yeah, I think like that's a big part of it. But more than that, it's like the Slack communities, being a part of all of these different groups, some that I pay for, some that I don't. A lot of them within my industry, but I'm even in one about it's called the Content Marketing Career Group, just because I want to send the elevator back down. The same reason we're kind of talking right now. Like I want to send the elevator back down for other people. I've had I guess like you would describe some sort of success. I'm just trying to do my thing as best I can day to day, just like everybody else. And I just want to send the elevator back down so that other people can get some benefit from that. So I spend a lot of time in there and things like that.
Totally. I mean, so yeah, you said that you spend a lot of time there. Can you like walk us through like your like social routines? Is it like every morning you wake up, you do like an hour on these tools, or is it in the evening? Is it intentional? Is it kind of once you're bored, or because you have to put a lot of effort into this, right? To get the results you're getting.
I do. I wish I had some sort of like self-discipline around this where it would be like, hey, here's what I'm doing at this. Like I have an hour in the morning, and then I check this, and I go through a routine. I don't have a routine. Part of working from home, I've had to become a very disciplined person. I don't have, I think by nature, a lot of self-discipline. My brain is wired for, it works out well in business and bad in other areas. My brain is wired for like, if one is good, then all is best. It's the reason I don't drink, right? Because if one beer is awesome, then 20 beers is better. And that's how my brain works. Like, and that's not cool, right? It's not cool to be like drunk all the time. However, in business, like it pays dividends where it's like awesome. Like, if I'm getting, my brain is just wired for like just constantly engaging, constantly checking notifications, constantly wanting to like stay up with people and check out their Instagram stories and send them DMs and just, hey, how are you doing? Like, I noticed you haven't been on Twitter in a little bit, and like things like that where people are like, holy crap, like somebody noticed I was gone. Because I do. So yeah, there's no routine. There's no hack. What I would tell people and what I would tell you is like, follow as few people as possible. Don't follow like mega influencers or anything like that don't engage. Like look at how much they engage with other people. If they don't bother with them. Because that's not, they're treating the channels as like distribution, which I think is wrong, versus engagement. Just connect with people 1 or 2 levels above you, maybe like people who are around where you're at, maybe a little bit more successful. And what's amazing is as they climb, as they go up, so will you, right? And you'll have been there that whole time. And that really matters, I think. like I keep a bunch of books right here that I'm always like looking at and stuff, just reminders of where I've come from and things that I've read that have mattered to me. But things like, do you know who Ryan Holiday is? He's an author.
I actually don't know, no.
So he wrote a bunch of different books called The Obstacle is the Way and like Stillness is the Key. They're really impactful books. I literally have tattoos of things from these books on my body. But like multiple time, like I think Obstacle is the Way has been a New York Times bestseller for like a year or two straight at this point. And like, you know, even being early on him, like I've been following him for years and years. And when I made a small ask at one point when I was still a teacher, I said, hey, can you help me fund a classroom set of your books for my students? It was funded within like 15 minutes. He shared it on social. He like funded a bunch of it himself. Like when all of a sudden you like they know you and there's context to the relationship, like you can make a small ask eventually. But even that was like, that's not an ask for me. That's an ask for my students, right? So yeah, I just wanted to give you an example of like how it pays off over time.
That's really impressive. Wow. But like, I guess it's also like a matter of memory. Somehow you have to have kind of an elephant brain to keep all that in mind or be able to like remember so much stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, do you write stuff down? Do you have like a notebook or how do you manage to remember this? Or is just Twitter doing a good job in
it's just me. First of all, it's just me checking things a lot and also really curating my intake. I don't follow a lot of people and I've gotten pretty good at this point of cutting out the noise. I do have notebooks though, like this is my work one and this is my personal one. And I take notes in these and whatever else. And sometimes that's helpful and I'll look back. But I think it's also just kind of a part of, I don't care about a lot of people, and the people that I do care about, I go all in. I double down on them, and I double down on their communities, and I double down like the places that I'm at. I'm 100% in. I'm not just like in 100 Facebook groups and every once in a while trying to pop into each. Like I probably pay attention to 3 to 5, but I'm all in on those. I'm commenting on every single post that I think I have something to add. I'm sharing stuff a couple times a week. Things like that. I've seen like my LinkedIn has blown up in the last probably couple months because I've really started to focus on it. So I don't know. I think where you put your focus, and again, you can start small. And what we're seeing now is this is stacking over time, right? Like I was really in this one community and cool. Then I added another one. And then a couple months later, I added another one. And it's, again, we're seeing like, you know, part of a decade of this paying off now.
And what I like is, so basically you're not an email guy at all. You're actually much more on Slack, Twitter, Facebook, like more like messaging apps. Is that right? Or do you also have like a big part of this is actually reaching out per email and staying in touch?
I mean, I have like my own email list and I send that out regularly and then I reply to that. Yeah, but and even sometimes I'll ask for engagement on my email list because I actually want to talk to people. My first email that goes out when you sign up for my list is like, hey, reply to this and let me know how you found it. Like what was going on in your life when you decided to sign up, which is just so helpful for me, but also gives me a chance to like genuinely engage with somebody. So yeah, it's not, I don't like do that a lot. The one networking hack I would guess that I try to do often, I learned this from Jordan Harbinger, who had a podcast called The Art of Charm, and now he has the Jordan Harbinger Show, was just go every couple months, like go through your text messages and scroll all the way to the bottom and just see who you, like if you have somebody's phone number and you have texted before, like that's pretty personal. Not a lot of people get somebody's number. But like, who's all the way at the bottom that like you have this intimate access to and you haven't talked to them in a while? And it's really easy to just be like, hey, I was just thinking about you. Just want to see what's going on, see how you are, especially now, especially given what's, you know, we're in the midst of a global pandemic that could be pretty horrific depending on how things go. I mean, check in on people. You gave a crap about them at some point. They gave a crap about you enough to exchange phone numbers and texts. Like, reach out to them. So I do that every so often, every time I remember. I have like a mini Jordan Harbinger in my head that reminds me. But yeah, I think it's really, it's just that. I don't have a lot of like tools and tricks other than just keep stacking like your assets over time. It's true in business, but it's also true of relationships.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think there are a lot of people who are that engaged into groups and online communities. I think that that's pretty unique about you, and also like going so all in. Like, just out of curiosity, do you remember a time when you wanted to meet someone or ask something specific to someone, and like you managed to reach out in some way? I'd be curious because you seem to be that kind of profile.
Yeah, so I just go for it. The way I reach out, so let's talk about like mentorship. So I did it
Yeah.
wrong when I launched my podcast in 2015, my first podcast. I made a whole list of all of these people I wanted to connect with, and I wrote it on a giant whiteboard in my office, and I tweeted like week 1, tweet them. Cool. I replied to one of their tweets in week 1. Week number 2, like tweet them again. Then like sign up week number, and this was like 100 people, sign up for their email list, and then reply to the emails that they send. And I had like all these tactics. Literally none of it panned out. They were too big, too much noise. They probably get 1,000 replies to every email they send out. Like, didn't manage to connect with any of them. And I also followed this guy who's become a friend over the years, this guy named Pat Flynn. And I realize, like, if you just show people you're doing the thing that they're teaching, or you just show people you're listening to them, like, hey, I listened to this podcast and it was really helpful because like you said to do this and I've been doing that for a couple months and here's what's happened. I would, and this is like how I define, I guess we could call it mentorship and stuff. First of all, like I never use the M word. I never ask somebody to be my mentor. I never ask like, hey, what can I've gotten emails like this, like, hey, what can I help you with? Like, the problem is like the intention is good, but then it puts mental labor on me. I have to think of something you can help me. I have to figure out who the hell you are, what you're good at, what you can help me with. And then I have to trust you to not screw it up. That's a ton of work for me, for you. And you think you're doing something nice for me. You're actually not. You're putting more work on me. What actually is great is figure out what you can help them with, and then just tell them, do the thing that they're teaching you how to do or talking about. Tell them the results. It's the way I've written for Ryan Holiday. It's the way that I've gotten to be really good friends with Pat Flynn, and he's got like one of the top business podcasts and has for years and years. And I was on one of the first 50 episodes of that podcast. But I'm really good at that sort of stuff because I play the long game. Like I don't reach out to somebody that I haven't been following for years and that hasn't made a radical impact on my life already. And then it's not like, oh man, you changed my life. It's like very granular. It's like, here's what happened. Here's what you said. Here's what I did. Here's the results I got. Just wanted to let you know. I'll follow up down the road. And I probably have 5 or 6 of those kind of relationships that, you know, I get the privilege to ask them, like they'll reply and be like, wow, man, that's amazing. And then a couple months later, I'm like, hey, here's what's going on now. Here's more action I'm taking. And then you just simply ask them a question. Like, what would you like, like something you're dealing with? And they'll probably reply. And then you go back, you follow their advice, you do, because nobody does that. Everybody's putting out so much content, so much advice, thought leadership. Nobody's listening. Even less people are taking action. So if you show them you're one of those people and you're consistent over time, all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is somebody I should invest in, right? They're worth it. They're going to listen to me. They're going to do the thing. I have people that I've been like that with, and I have people that have been like that with me. And I think that that's really like the model.
Beautiful. Brandon, like, remember so many insights. It's amazing, and like hands-on. Like I just now, I think I'll have to spend like 30 minutes watching this through again, and just like taking notes and thinking about like actionables that I can apply to my whole life, my personal life. So thank you a lot.
Yeah, man, of course. I'm happy to help, and obviously, like I'm a big believer in this stuff. So if I can ever be helpful for you, or you have questions I can answer, or whatever else, like I'm always down.